Hello, this is Chess Show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star. Our guest today is International Master Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah,
It's
glad to have
a pleasure
you.
as always.
So, how would you characterize the latest situation in the chess world?
Well, there's a lot of activity this week, and I'm going to theme former world champions who are back in action. Um, so and at the end, I will get to the sensation in the European Championship.
Yeah.
But let's do the former world champions first.
Okay.
Um, and so the highest rated player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, is playing right now in the chess.com Open, which is game 10 rapid, so very fast rapid. Um, and he won against world championship hopeful Vincent Keimer in the first round, defeated him, I think, 2.5 a half. And his first game features a very interesting juncture at move 40, where I will stop for a while. So it's a very well and evenly matched game in a G3 Nimzo. And but the key in this game is a little bit of deeper sight into the position, even when playing fast. And I must say that Magnus Carlsen is an amazing maven of fast chess. So Black is playing the normal strategy of going after the weak front double pawn that he created at move 4. White always has this thematic sacrifice, which Black sometimes stops by playing c5 first, but the move c5 has other disadvantages on d6 and other parts of the center. So instead, Black is going to play fluidly, try to command squares on the queen side. But White also has an attack on the king side. And here, White enjoys maybe a little more than a normal opening edge. And this is a very strange move. It's a move that I would not think to play as a human player. It seems to me to create a weakness, but it's going to be the decisive move at the end of the game. So I don't know. I would play e4 in this position. The computer was liking c6 for a little while, but I wouldn't see any reason not to play e4. But Carlsen did. So now Black is able to more or less force White to surrender that bishop or move it to c1, but then Black takes over the initiative, and with d5 is going to surrender that c6 pawn. So White's idea now is to bring up the reinforcements and keep that c pawn as a wedge in Black's position. We play, and this, okay, I'm not going to care too much about moves that the computer thinks are bad for the moment. It's enough to say that Black has done reasonably well in this position. So, and now Black is able to mount a counterattack. So Black is definitely ahead. White made one. I guess White's move was consequential, but d5 natural to set the equilibrium in the position. And this is a case of dynamic versus positional play. As White, a Nimzovich style player, I really like White's position because Black captures on e4. I get a knight on a great square. Black can push past, and then maybe my king comes under some pressure, but then there are also White square weaknesses eventually. Black's knight is actually out of the game. It's Black's knight on ace3 is frozen out of the game because what can it do? It can come here. I mean, maybe the only way Black can rescue it is to do, oh, I didn't mean to play that, is to do that and get the knight out via c8. So annoying that knight is certainly a dynamic thing in the position. But Vincent Keimer has a way to address that right off the bat. It's, could take on e4 first and play b5, but I don't want to take on e4 if I don't have to. So now black has rescued the knight, but didn't have to do it right away. Okay, white captures, and now we just have an even position. Um, Definitely interesting pawn structure. Now white no longer has a knight to capture with, so that's fine. So heavy position, but what you want to be aware of, what is the weak point in black's position? Okay, the pawn on c4 is one obvious answer, but it's not even the c pawn that black should be most concerned about. However, nothing wrong with black's move. Pressure on the king side stops white's ambitions, and now we get a rook ending, and black is importantly able to take over the open b file. So therefore, not going to be infiltrated by rook b1, and it's a dead even game. So how does back how does the world champion play for chances? Former world champion play for chances in a dead even game. White can't even approach black's pawn on c4, so this looks completely drawn. Well, this is what Carlsen excels at. Part of this is with a move like king f3, we are tempting black to come in and try to make an attack. And the thing is that actually there is no threat because black cannot cede the b file because of this weak point on c7. So black plays centralize the king, white centralizes the king. They both did, and white begins an action on the king side. Okay, Nepo says, I'll come in. Now the computer thinks that white could have done more forthrightly with g4. So why is white even registering an edge, a latent edge in this position? Well, I'm not going to go into computer lines. I said what the theme is. All right, so black is maybe hoping to win a pawn with check. Now, okay, so this does allow white to carry out the strategy. Okay, so we're going to open lines for white's rook, and white's rook will be able to get at the weak point in black's position. Okay, and black just tanks. So it's a fast, rapid game too. Now this actually helped black because the first rank is more valuable than the second rank. Okay, so now white gets on with it, but black should be able to survive this. And now here's where you have to have a sense of danger as black. So what is the weak point in position? Well, one thing you can do is you can repeat moves or see if white will repeat moves by playing king f6, rook f2. King has to go back. It's weirdly the only legal move, and then white can do this. But okay, so however, black steps into a little bit of temptation, thinking maybe that white will play king f3, and then we can give checks. So the most relevant line, I guess, is what happens if white plays king e2. Well, then you can play, you can transpose into what black should actually have done in the game. Okay, so rook e1 check, and I've managed to avoid hiding the key move. So how should black defend? So it turns out that the most important element in this position is to have access to this square to guard the first rank against what Carlsen's devious plan is. And for that purpose, the way to hold the balance is to play rook h1 and then just king g6. And white's infiltration will not arrive with tempo. And then this is a completely balanced game. But Keimer saw the pawn and did not see what white was up to. So rook takes g5, king f7, and now here's the point. Black cannot stop white from capturing on d6 with the rook and then promoting a pawn by c7. So black has now lost. Rook h4 comes too late. Here goes the pawn. Okay, black just tries a desperate counterattack, but it's over. So guilesome play by the former world champion Carlsen. Okay. Now, let's see. Another former world champion is back in action, Ding Liren, in the Chinese team championship. And he's actually doing fairly well. He has 3.5 out of 4, although they're wins over lower ranked players. He drew against Bu Jiangxi, who was in the 2700 club for a little while. Anyway, this is a nice win in the first round against Chi Chen B. Okay, and so I always notice the Chi Chen B when I'm collating chess games. All right, so so the interesting thing about this game is that it maybe takes about 3 seconds to see who is winning in the final position, because both sides look like they have advanced forces attacking. And it's advanced French, which can always lead to very creative play from early in the game. Okay, so now Black plays knight h6, and Chi Chen B decided to take off the knight. Where there are various normal moves, including just b3, so that b5 or knight b6 don't come with tempo. But okay, so now it's a question of how Black is going to develop. Threatening castle queenside at the moment, but White has more space on the queen side. So castling queenside is not Black's plan. Black's plan is to challenge White in the center and hope that the rook lift on h6 eventually has a point in the position. Must be said that chances are balanced right here. So it's just going to be play chess and how much fear do you have. So the thing that White may have underestimated by playing rook c1, I don't know, b6. Wow, and then bishop b5 check. I guess that opens the line for White's advantage. Gosh, it's hard to play chess sometimes. The point is, well, Black just bravely allows White to capture a pawn with the discovered attack, but Black can retaliate in kind. And in fact, White doesn't have any follow-up. White's king is in the center, same as Black's. So in fact, White did do that. Captured here. Now Black has a nice extra pawn and has calculated that he will be able to support it and not have to worry about White's efforts on the E file in 7th rank. It does look like Black's in a crosshairs, but the king just steps away, and White tries to attack, but in fact, after this, White's position is going to collapse. So White actually resigns in this position. It's not sure, the times don't show. I only moved 25, but White resigned because Black is just threatening to capture 2 rooks for a knight, or if you take a pawn, Black's eventually just going to crash through with that pawn on d2. So nice game by Ding Liren.
Very solid game,
yeah. So now the another person I could mention who is playing this week, who lost 2 world championship matches but did not win the title. I guess he's not judged to have won the title by default. Is Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's playing in the chess.com Open, but not doing very well. I think he's about to be eliminated. He lost to Nodirbek Abdusadarov in play earlier today. So let me switch over to the other big news story of the week from the previous weekend. And this is the sensation of the European Individual Championship, 500 players, being won by an international master, not a grandmaster, with only a 2450 rating. His name is Roman Degtyaryov, and he lost to Isaac Khan. He defeated Emre Khan. Okay, so he was getting the Khan tour. Drew with Nijat Abasov, is a stronger player, probably stronger than his rating. And he also drew against another Turkish player, prodigy, Ediz Gurel. But he defeated everyone else in the last 5 rounds. He won 5 out of his last 6 games, including 2 powerful games against Maxime Lagarde and David Anton. And that's what I'm going to show. So he is from Ukraine, and in fact, he was offered earlier in his career the chance to train outside of Ukraine, but decided to remain near his family in the bombed out city of Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine. So he's from there, still from there. So they call Kharkiv the city of reinforced concrete. So he plays these games with iron control, that's for sure. Okay, so this is interesting. This is a pawn sacrifice, and could be good for white. At least that's what the computer seems to be saying. But I think it's very difficult to play for white. This is where I wish we had Dan. Dan might know this gambit. So, okay. So black is chasing white around. There is actually a way for white to win a second pawn. I was looking at this. I forget whether that comes up in the game or was sidelined. I think it comes up in the game here. So white can actually capture a second pawn, but that does recognizably give black equal chances. Black is just going to play chess. White's undeveloped. Black will try to get heavy pieces to the center files and eventually pry open the position, maybe with h3, maybe with f5, 5f4. So Maxime Lagarde's sense of danger not failing him, but maybe was a little bit too unorthodox, and now he can develop his position. It's very strange to me that the computer thinks the modest move bishop d2 is best in this position. But anyway, f3, trying to tuck the king on f2. There we go. But there is right away one issue. I won't say necessarily a flaw, but black is able to play this, and it's a very cute concept, okay, namely, and then checkmate on h2. Okay, so, however, white does not have to capture the bishop. White's king goes into his bunker, and a lot of the tactics are now going to revolve around whether it's possible to activate white's rook on h1. So Detirov invited a repetition and sort of asking Maxime, what are you trying to get from this position? And Lagrave made, maybe the best move, bishop d3, but now we play on. And now comes that bishop b2 move. But no, black's down a pawn, but has all the activity at the moment. And who's going to criticize putting a rook in the center? But white can now untangle a bit by playing queen c2 and king f2 after queen g5. And I guess when you're calculating, you want to, wait, black can play knight b4, and the knight might come into d3. But at any rate, white decided to take care of the knight b4 issue this way, giving black a move, however, to get the king out of the firing line. Okay, so now there's no knight b4 coming, and white, in fact, was emboldened to play knight b5. But now comes some very interesting moves by black. Okay, so if you take on d6, then h takes g2 is a tempo on white's rook on h1. So white plays g4, which is a good move. But now what white should be doing is trying to activate the rook by sliding it over. And there's a really nifty move that justifies this. So let us play king f1, and let's say black plays f5, which is what makes rook g1 now certainly applicable. And well, hey, there's a juicy pawn here. Well, the cute move by white is to play bishop e1 and uncovering an attack with check on the h2 bishop. So that's a sly, maybe easy for a human being to overlook tactic. So that actually justifies playing rook e1. But instead, um, Maxime Lagarde made what looks like a natural centralizing move, but it has a fatal flaw, and that's this.
Oh,
So, so if king takes bishop, then queen f2 check, king takes h3, rook over me. And if rook takes bishop, then queen g3 check, and white has to either jettison the rook on h2 or play king h1, allowing queen takes f3 check, and then rook e4, rook g4, and it's a mating attack. So the best white can do actually here is, just realize, oops, I've blundered a pawn, but now, modulo a few of these moves aren't really mistakes. So Degtyaryov plays very solidly and very well. That's not really a mistake. Maybe that is a mistake. White is a little too active to. So now f5 to pry open more lines at white's king. f4. It's very, very nice play. So white has a beautiful center, but it may fall apart. Again, that's not really a mistake. Um, Maybe it's a mistake to a computer. And black was going to play knight e5 with the pin anyway. And so black just has to avoid losing something. And it's white who starts getting picked apart instead, now losing the g pawn. And black is about to blockade white center. Okay, we are able to sacrifice an exchange and eliminate one of the bad pawns. And now white is hoping to get moving in the center, but black is able to just block it. This is a nice move because it's actually a very precise dipsy doodle, because now black plays back to d8, so back and forth moving with the rook, and white is tied down. Tried rook g5, but it didn't stop. Rook takes d6, so Lagarde gave out.
wow.
Yeah, very
Interesting.
very commanding play for Degtyaryov. And I said there's no thought of cheating. He certainly didn't play computer like, but he played effectively in that way.
Yeah. Very different play from candidates tournament, I must say.
Yeah. It's yeah. You wonder why. Yeah, Maxime Lagarde was one of those who was in that conversation a few years ago. I remember when he was a prodigy. Actually, his name first came to my mind because he played a game against Sebastian Feller when I was investigating that case 14 years ago when he was a
Oh, yeah.
young junior. But I don't think I ever obtained the score of that game. So this time Degtyaryov is white, and you have to say that Grandmaster Anton makes the mistake of playing the Ruy Lopez position that allows the Spanish torture. White has played d3, but white is going to get a tempo to play into the more classical d4 base lines anyway at some point here. So it's as if white has a pawn on d4, except white can't play d5 here. So black has the knight and a5. It really is the classic Spanish torture, except that white doesn't have a pawn on d4. And black's knight will be part of the torture. White. Okay. So there's one interesting juncture of this game coming up where black actually does equalize the position. I mean, here white has a definite advantage. Okay. Okay, the knight gets driven back to a5. And now here is the interesting juncture of the game. Um, so here, black can capture a pawn on b3 and should. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things you fear with white bringing pieces to the king side. Um, so I guess you fear exchange of two minor pieces, and then white's queen on f6 and bishop on h6 are going to deliver mate. Well, black's knight won't be able to get back in time. But knight takes b3, very clearly the move to make. So black played rook e8 first, and there's an issue with this. Okay, never mind the white play queen a2. We play consequent moves here. Okay, so once again, black can and should capture that pawn, but black played f5, and this is the key juncture in the game. So what black could have done, also, I guess black couldn't play f5 in this position. Um, let's see. Yeah, knight b3. I thought f5 was playable here. No, it's not. It's just losing stuff. Okay, wait a second. So that's interesting. Okay, so rook e8, now queen e3, and now calculated f5. And here is the flaw. So if white has to capture, okay, then, that just hangs the knight on d5. That's right. So that's the point. White can't capture because it hangs the knight on d5. But white has its Zwischenzug in this position. And again, you'd like to know how far in advance Detiarov saw it. And this now completely wrong foots black, because if knight c6, now there's not the capture on d5 anymore, and white can play capture on f5 and then infiltrate with a check on f6. And black can't capture the pawn anymore because rook a7 is just too strong. So a winning Zwischenzug, and black played f4, but black's still not able to capture things. Let's see. So why can't we capture that? Because now we play queen a2. This is juicy. Okay. And we are skewering the knight against a discovered check. So knight df6 check. You still have to calculate this. Well, calculate it when you win your rook back and have a very strong attack. So actually win the rook back and are probably going to, you're just going to take on g7 and win the knight on h1. That's very, very simple. So, so black had to retreat to c6, and now white just has an even better version of the Spanish torture kind of position. Black's bishop on g7 is not really playing, so black gives up a pawn to make some air, but the position that results after giving up another pawn is where white has the material and the compensation. And the rest is just mopping up. And black gave up.
Wow.
So altogether, very powerful play by Detiarov. Two other events going on. Bundesliga finishes this week, and the World Senior Teams in Albania. But anyway, so lots of chess going on.
Chess going on. But Ken, after this spectacular candidates tournament, all these events, including online and offline or so on, they're kind of maybe different personalities, different level of play probably, a level of commentaries and overall popularizing these tournaments very different from candidates. So it's, in a way, I found that after candidates it's very difficult to watch most of the other tournaments. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can say, sure, that the candidates actually, by one measure, did really well in terms of audience, measured against itself and the Toronto candidates, which was much more suspenseful.
Yeah,
in the men's section, not so well. So the Toronto was suspenseful in both. So um,
true, true. Well, we'll see as the time will put everything is in place. I don't think that Sindarov should have played in this online tournament because he's sitting on a unique currency, his right to play for World Championship, and I don't think that he should spend it left and right and all kind of
yes, he
on.
lost to Dubov yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but
Mhm.
I mean, what does he need money after his spectacular success in the candidates? I think he was showered with all kind of presents from the government of Uzbekistan, and he became probably the most popular man in Uzbekistan by far. So I don't think that he's in need to spend this hard-earned.
I would say he just wants to be one of the boys. I mean, the boys, are playing
He's
in.
not, but he's not one of the boys. He is the boy.
Yeah, that's right.
Today, he is the boy. So why would he spend his capital playing all kind of other online people? Even Abdusatorov now, he is playing second violin to Sindarov. And Sindarov has to sit on it and get the maximum out of it instead of just playing all kind of tournament just for to make more money. I don't know if he needs it so badly, but anyway, we'll see. Maybe somebody will tell him.
Yeah, it
Uh,
looks like to me like Sindarov was just eliminated by MVL, whereas Abdusatorov is going on, I think, or coming out of the losers bracket to the winners bracket. It's a double elimination tournament, hard to track. Uh,
okay, good luck to this double elimination tournament. Uh,
mhm.
if there are no other events, I don't mind to watch sometimes these tournaments or so. But after the candidates, I can't bring myself to watch.
Well, next week we have TP Sigmund with Carlson. So
What is it?
next week I think is TP Sigmund with Carlson.
Oh, I
Slow
see.
Carlson playing slow chess again. Let's just check that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Looking forward to it.
Check that in upcoming events. Yeah, starting May 1.
May
So
1. Okay, so it's
yeah,
not a few days from now.
we
Again, thank you so much for today's program, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Thank
okay.
you very much. Have a great weekend.
Yep.
Bye bye, Ken.
Bye bye.